Looking back at Camp Freedom, it's always very exciting to me. I think back to the early days, months and months before Camp Freedom launched, and I think of hearing the passion and the vision that Bill and Laura Bockenberg had as our founders for this property. And when I look at it now, looking back, 4.5 years and seeing where it's come from there, it just is, it's unbelievable actually. We went from a vision of providing access to those with physical and mental disabilities, with those with disabilities. We went from providing access to an entire plan that now for 4.5 years has come to fruition. You look at starting those first days, this lodge that we're sitting in was in disarray and was unkept, was untaken care of, and it needed to be all updated and repaired. And so we started here. When I think about the grounds in those early days, there were minimal food plots, and those that were there were not planted, had not been cared for, or taken to the level that we wanted them to be. And so it was very raw in its initial process. And so we moved from that in that first year, working from January until October, all working hard on trying to get everything prepared for our first guests. It was ambitious to say, let's have first guests that first October, but we knew we had to get guests on the ground. And so we had volunteers come, we had people come and work, we had people stop in, but our first official extended stay guest happened in that October, and it was literally 9 months of just long, hard days in order to get us to the place where we could bring guests and be assured that they'd have a stay of excellence. One of the highlight, when I look back at extended stays, one of the highlights is one of the first hunts we did with Major Ben Wilkins. Ben came up, he had a relationship with a couple other people that he'd met at a previous opportunity he had in Pennsylvania, and got to meet Ben. We were both field artillery officers back in the day, and so there was some common ground instantly. And Ben came out here and had an unbelievable experience. In what he was sharing, where his struggles and where his battles were, and the things that he had overcome and the things that he needed to overcome. As he shared that relationship, that bond, which still exists to this day, is just incredible. And then he harvested a beautiful whitetail buck. And then on top of it, we had the first turkey ever taken at Camp Freedom on that same hunt. And the hunt was great. But when you spend 4 days hand in hand with somebody, when you spend 4 days walking through a process of life together, and it's combined as an outdoor adventure, when it's combined with an outdoor adventure, those relationships do not go away quickly. They're established, and Ben's stay here was pivotal in his life, absolutely paramount in his life and his healing process. I think of other incredible hunts that took place. I think of Frank D'Antonio, the pigeon guy, as we love him here and know him as here. Frank served in the military way back in the day, and he has been regular here. He has been a constant here, comes as a volunteer, helps us at all of our events, attends everything we do, and has just become, everybody here has become fond of the pigeon guy. And I remember when I called him and told him, hey, we have a last minute opening on a hunt, and I'd like you to come hunt if you would. We'd be privileged to have you. And he instantly was like, oh, I'd love to do it, I'd love to do it. I remember taking him out on his hunt, and we had an unsuccessful day, weren't able to harvest anything. We went out the second day and I said, we're gonna shift gears. And I was able to take him into our big buck estate. And I'll never forget, he's behind the rifle, looking out the window. I said, here comes a good buck, one that fit the category of buck we were looking for. And at the same time, there was this giant 300-inch buck in the food plot in front of us, which didn't fit the category that we were supposed to be shooting. And Frank's like, I see it. And I look at where he's pointing, and his scope is right on the big buck. And I literally took the rifle and slid it across the window and said, Frank, there's the buck that we're working on. And Frank made an incredible shot on that buck, and just an incredible, again, relational time that ended in a harvest, yes, but so much more than a harvest. I look at that relationship and Frank's relationship in my life, and what I have gotten from Frank is unbelievable. My life is enriched because of him, and I'll never forget that hunt, and our relationship continues to move forward to this day. One of the most impactful multi-day events that we did here was the hunt with Jamie Bird. I had met Jamie through Will Dolph, and Jamie came up to camp and volunteered and helped us out, and then he was awarded a hunt for that particular fall. And I got the privilege of guiding Jamie on that hunt, and it was just an unbelievable, one of those life moments where there was just instant relationship. You meet somebody and you just know you're gonna have a bond for life. And Jamie and I hit it off in that manner, and just had this incredible bond, and we're sharing stories in life. And Jamie got to harvest this incredible buck. It was a sponsored hunt, incredible buck of a lifetime. I still can't believe just how large that buck was. But the buck is secondary in my mind. The buck is secondary to what occurred there, to the relationship that was built. And then Jamie extended that bond and that relationship built with everybody on staff. And literally that last night we went out and we were hunting a doe. Jamie had harvested his buck. We were sitting in a blind not far from right here, 150 yards from right here. And I remember talking to him about his passion for helping veterans and for serving others. Jamie, who had incredible hardship in his service, an incredibly difficult time that led to him having to leave the service because of medical reasons. And Jamie, who had come so far in his life, he was currently at that time an HR director at the second largest Cabela's in the country. And I remember sitting in a blind, we were in real tight quarters, and saying, Jamie, someday I know that you are gonna end up here at Camp Freedom. I know that you need to be working here. And we laughed and joked, and he was excited at that endeavor. You know, we fast forward a year and a half from that time, and we were able to get Jamie on board here to become our GM of operations. And it started with an extended stay event. It started with an event built around a deer hunt. So often I get people who say, what can a deer hunt do for anybody? How can that change somebody's life? Jamie's life was forever changed because of what happened prior, what happened during that hunt, and what has happened in the aftermath. And more importantly than that, he has now changed the lives and has been used as a tool to change the lives of so many other heroes. That's what Camp Freedom's all about. It's about helping people walk in their process of healing to a point where they can help others. And Jamie's a perfect picture of that. And the outcome has been life-changing for so many others. And that's what happens here. That's what happens on almost a daily basis here at Camp Freedom. Some of the landmark achievements, when again, looking back on history, it's always thrilling to look back and see just how far things have come. But I think of some very pivotal moments in the life of Camp Freedom. You know, those first guests, 49 guests that first fall. I look at that, and that was the test ground. That was the time when we knew we were moving from concept to reality. We knew in our minds, we knew in our hearts that it was going to work, but we saw lives radically changed. We saw lives saved that very first fall. So I think of that as a huge benchmark in the life of Camp Freedom. I look at other benchmark moments, you know, throughout the history of Camp Freedom, and I think about when we got UTVs, just to be able to transport people on the ground. It may not seem like a pivotal moment to some, but it was massive for us because we needed to be able to transport these true American heroes all over, at that time, this 1,800-acre property, and get them wherever they needed to be. I think of the time when David Isley, who was the Director of Veteran Affairs in Lackawanna County, when he secured track chairs for us. Pivotal moment. I think of some of the items that we got, some of the gear that we got. We got fishing poles, you know, when they came in. I think about, there was a local guy who provided rubber worms for us for fishing the ponds. I think about some of the gear that came in, and then the Roxer. When we got the Roxer, you know, a moment where Bob Pallow, our first breakfast ever, right here in this very room, you know, we're bringing people thinking they're going to have relationships with Camp Freedom. So I have Bob Pallow there from Pocono Raceway, and then at the same time we have Roxer here, a high-level Roxer Mahindra individual in the house, thinking, well, maybe we're going to cut a deal with both of them, but they cut a deal together. And Roxer became a sponsor of Pocono Raceway, and I'm thinking, oh, that's great for them, and it worked out great, and we were thrilled for them. And in the end, Bob was able to work it out so that one of those Roxers after the season that was donated to, or part of the sponsorship package rather, from Pocono Raceway came to Camp Freedom, and it was donated back here. And those were just huge benchmarks in the life of Camp Freedom. I get very excited when I think of the many events that we've been able to hold here on Camp Freedom on this sacred ground, which is now 2,300 acres of ground. It just excites me. I look back through our history and I think of the first time we had our opening day of trout fishing. I think we had 14 individuals or 15 individuals that came, and we went down onto the beautiful section of the Lackawanna River that runs through the property, and we had an incredible morning just fishing and bonding and building relationships, you know, on the Lackawanna River with really, again, true heroes. I look to the first time we did a pheasant hunt here, and I think about the first pheasant hunt, which now is we're at our third annual pheasant hunt, and I think about the impact, not just the pheasants, not just the fun of the day, not just the excitement, but the impact that was made through those pheasant hunts. I remember the first banquet. It was our first huge undertaking, and we go back to the first banquet, and again, I was the only one on our staff at that time and out of our volunteers that had experienced a true banquet built upon the outdoors. And so we were just really trying to bring it all together, get everybody up to speed, get everybody educated on what needed to happen. And we had 300 people. And it was an incredible experience, just an unbelievable night of exposure and fundraising. Second banquet boomed, just took off, and the third banquet is going to grow even beyond that. You know, we brought an idea from out west, from the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, the Grand Junction chapter, largest chapter in the country. We brought the idea for Gunfest back here to the east. And although we've not held that on these grounds, we've held it at Lehigh Valley Sporting Clays, who's just an incredible partner with us, and we held it at Roll Call, another incredible partner with us. So we've held this Gunfest event where we have gone through, you know, 80, 90 firearms in one night, incredible fundraising, but great fun. And it's pivotal to be able to adjust and to be able to overcome the difficulties of culture and the difficulties that people face during the pandemic with funding, and to be able to raise funds, you know, and Counts Customs. When we talk about events and we talk about fundraising and pivotal moments in the life of Camp Freedom, when Mike Ryan established a relationship with Counts Customs and got that first Chevy Nova going, that 1969 Chevy Nova going, we had that car built. Danny did an incredible job with his whole team, built that car, and it was the largest fundraiser to that moment that we did, and was just huge to enable us to do everything we do here at Camp Freedom for our veterans and our first responders, their family members, and Gold Star families for free. And that's the key. We don't fundraise just for the sake of fundraising. We fundraise so that we can continue to do everything on this ground for free. And so we've done the Nova, we've done the 2 Jeeps, we have other stuff that's coming forward in rapid fire, succession of different vehicles that are coming in, and vehicles have become a niche for us that are very effective. You know, Camp Freedom has had an incredible amount of heroes come onto this property. I mean, over 4,000 heroes in 4+ years that have been served here at Camp Freedom. With our small staff of 8 individuals, there's no way that we could ever get done what really needs to be done here without an army. I'll always say army when I'm talking about military branches. Without an army of volunteers that have helped us along the way. Just this past year, we saw over 7,200 hours of volunteer time logged on this ground. And those volunteers are veterans and first responders and family members of, and people who are not affiliated in any way with first responders and veterans. It comes in the form of Boy Scouts, and it comes in the form of companies coming and giving a day. It comes in the form of Home Depot bringing 70+ volunteers here on the ground in one day. It comes in the form of a local Christian school coming and bringing 60 kids to do work here and doing an unbelievable amount of work. It comes in the form of a couple who was willing to dedicate their time on almost a weekly basis for an entire year. It comes in the form of Joe Crott, who shows up, a Vietnam vet who shows up here every single week like it's his job on Monday and Tuesday from April until October because he hates when it's cold, and works here every day. It comes in the form of Fred Honey, who literally is here 5 days a week, probably 45 to 50 weeks of the year, like it's his job from 7 to 4, just contributing and giving back as a Coast Guard veteran, giving back to others and helping us. Our volunteers make this place happen. We have vision, we have direction, we know the things that have to happen on this ground, but we do not have the manpower and all of the abilities necessary, all of the talents necessary to make it happen. So we count on you. We count on you, our volunteers, to continue to serve and to become partners with us in that healing process of so many great and true American heroes. It's all about the volunteers that make that happen. Camp Freedom is here for the long haul. It's not going anywhere. We have plans where we will continue to expand the activities that take place. We will continue to expand the levels of care and the type of care that takes place here. We will continue to build partnerships with other organizations, other nonprofit organizations, other practices, other companies, in order to continue to provide care in unbelievable ways to all of these true American heroes, those that have served in the military, those that are serving and have served as first responders in a very wide spectrum and definition of that term, and those that have lived life through them, those that are family members of, and have faced the same trauma that our heroes have faced, but from a very different perspective. We're going to continue to serve them along with Gold Star families for the duration of Camp Freedom. That can only happen with partners like you. Those of you who are individuals and get behind us in an individual manner, those of you who are corporations, those of you who are other nonprofit organizations, those of you who are other entities that just want to jump behind us. What makes Camp Freedom tick and what enables us to serve so many incredible people is all of those partnerships. The volunteers, the partners, the sponsors, the donors, all of you make Camp Freedom happen. So our goal, our prayer, our request is that you will continue to partner with us long into the future, because unfortunately, there are many more American heroes that need the services and the care that is provided in a very unique and special way right here at Camp Freedom.